All right, so the guy versus just a guy. I don't know which guys you have on this list.
Yes.
So the guy versus just a guy. Rotate to your right just a tad bit, by the way. There we go. All right, we're off and rolling. The guy versus just a guy.
All right, I'm going to start off something light. Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. And the rules are based on Super Bowl expectations, correct? Just a guy.
Just a guy. Fair enough. I agree. Kirk Cousins is just a guy.
Just a guy, mainly because, like I said, I think he's a guy that he could be a quarterback on a Super Bowl winning team, and he is definitely better than a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. But if you think anyone out there is a Kirk Cousins away from winning a Super Bowl, I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think that that's the case. I think you have to have a dominant defense and a run game and enough weapons to just be a little dangerous. But if you need him to do what Patrick Mahomes just did this past Super Bowl, or what Jalen Hurts did, literally, oh, okay, cool, I'm not going to dominate through touchdowns through the air, but I'm going to punch it in the end zone 3 times with my legs. I don't think he's that guy. Just a guy.
All right. Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is just a guy. Very similar. I mean, a lot of these guys are very similar to Kirk Cousins, where you're confident in their ability to play the position, and he's going to be paid as just a guy that you believe in, that you're going to invest in, but you're not going to invest top dollar to. You're not going to invest the guy money to. He's just a guy. But the Giants have a very solid quarterback, but I don't think anyone's jealous of the Giants quarterback situation by any means.
I agree with you 100%. Just a guy. Tua.
This what? So this is, we're not allowed to have an in between. He's not. So let me just put it this way: every time I want to be wishy washy with it, is he the guy? In Miami, he is, but he's not the guy. He's not the guy. If he was a free agent,
he plays for the Dolphins, so
I'm gonna say just a guy.
Woo!
Just a guy.
I thought you were gonna go the other way. I'm not gonna lie.
I like Tua a lot. We saw, and again, by the way, everyone that wants to chalk up his success to, well, look, he wasn't good, so he got Tyreek Hill. Well, that's kind of how football works. You need weapons around you to be good. But that's the difference is Patrick Mahomes, you take away his number one weapon, or his number one wide receiver at least. Take his number one wide receiver away, he got better. You take Tyreek Hill away, Tua's not getting better. He's just a solid quarterback that needs weapons around him, so therefore he's not the guy. He's just a guy. Sounds disrespectful, but again, the Dolphins have a very, very good quarterback. They have nothing to worry about.
Paid like the guy, but is he the guy? Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray can't be in between. That's why I hate this game. Man, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said the guy, because again, I fell for the halfway point of that 2021 season. The Cardinals were undefeated. He was an MVP candidate. And I thought, he kind of does it all. He has a very strong arm. He's semi-accurate. He's lost some of that accuracy now, but at that time, very accurate. He was making bomb plays. He can make plays with his legs. That's the prototypical quarterback in today's style of the NFL. Shorter side, of course, but everything you want. But he's kind of let his attitude and some of the other stuff kind of rub off on other people to where I don't have a great taste in my mouth about him now. So I'm going to say just a guy, but the expectation and the money says he should be the guy, but I think he's just a guy for right now. But I do think he has more of a ceiling than some of the other guys we've just talked about.
I want to say the guy, because the Cardinals, they should have moved on from Kingsbury last year and brought in a whole new regime and built it around Kyler Murray and said, hey, come in there with new energy. Now, this season was a complete disaster. Then he gets hurt. Now they have a new head coach. So I'm going to say just a guy just based off of the total disaster that last season was.
Jacob Fightmaster, real quick, Kev. He says, Kyler Murray is the guy on Call of Duty. Well played, Mr. Fightmaster. Well played.
All right, number 6, Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, despite all of my question marks, and he is the guy. If the Browns had Baker Mayfield at quarterback and they had a chance to get Lamar Jackson, oh my gosh, I'd be doing cartwheels to get Lamar Jackson. I'm not as anti-Lamar as what I appeared to come across at times. I would be worried as a Ravens fan because of his style of play. It's just as simple as that. There's a reason that when you have these, really fast sports cars, these really fancy sports cars, that the insurance on them is through the roof. And it's because these insurance companies know that, hey, they're very awesome cars, but they're probably going to be used in ways that, just your casual little compact car won't be used. That's why the rates are through the roof. That's how I view Lamar. Lamar, it's not, it's a great car. It's a badass car, but you also know they're going to be reckless when they use it. And the chances of the payments being made throughout the entirety of the shelf life of that car or that quarterback are very slim. So that's where I would be concerned. I think that's why Ravens ownership is dragging their feet and not willing to bow down to every demand at this point. But no, he is the guy. There's no doubt about it. You don't win an MVP on accident in this league. And again, he's the guy.
I agree.
To close it out.
I agree. Lamar Jackson is the guy. Hot button for a lot of people out there, and you are a fan of this team. One, Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott is a guy. I've been consistent on that. I liked it. But so for our listeners who are tuning into this, being a guy is not an insult, just to be clear. Like the reason Kevin's picking a lot of these guys, I could tell, are they're in between guys that I'm not allowed to say in between. But it's hard to find a Dak Prescott. The only reason he got paid, and people say the Cowboys are dumb for paying him. No, they're not dumb for paying him because what's the alternative? Right. The alternative is going to get a Jacoby Brissett. And as much as I like Jacoby and a Cooper, as much as I like those guys, and by the way, Cooper Rush was winning games in Dak's absence, but he wasn't winning games. Let's just be clear. Dak came back. They put up 30 points per game. The stats don't match the aesthetics of the way the team looked when he was out there, which is very strange to me. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm going to say he's a guy. And until he can prove that I don't know. I'm going to say a guy. I'm just going to stick with a guy. I'm not sold on Dak. Not yet.
I'm going to say a guy for a different reason. I'm going to say whoever takes a snap for the Dallas Cowboys is just a guy until proven otherwise. We've seen a lot of good quarterbacks come through the Dallas Cowboys since the great Troy Aikman was the quarterback, from Quincy Carter to Romo.
Quincy Carter.
Yeah, my guy Quincy Carter.
He retired Bill Parcells.
Yes, to Romo and now Dak. They've all lost. They've all lost in weird ways. We've seen Tony Romo drop snaps. We've seen Dak Prescott run a quarterback draw with 5 seconds on the clock. They just find a way to lose, and it's kind of Stephen A. Smith how I feel about them. So whoever the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is just a guy until proven otherwise for me.
All right. And by the way, for those just tuning in, Kidder and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio, the guy versus just a guy. Kev is throwing different quarterback names at me, and we're trying to decide if this is the guy or just a guy. Y'all can, it's up for interpretation of how you want to label these guys. You could chime in the comment section, and I'll get to your responses in a moment. Next up.
For sure. He's a free agent now. Just got cut by the Raiders. One, Derek Carr.
And this is another gray guy, but we can't say gray. So I'm going to say a guy. But reminds me a little. There are some quarterbacks that if you have them at quarterback, like Dak and others, there's nothing wrong with these guys. There's nothing wrong with Tua Tagovailoa. There's nothing wrong with Dak Prescott. There's nothing wrong with Derek Carr. If the Browns didn't get Deshaun and they had Derek Carr, and I think Deshaun's better than Derek Carr, but if they had Derek Carr, I'd be very, very pleased. I'd be very, very happy. So he's a guy, but there's always just that one thing missing. It's just something missing, whatever it is, but it's hard to find even the Derek Carrs of the world. I'm going to say a guy, no disrespect, but he's not an elite quarterback in the NFL, at least not in my opinion. A guy.
He's just a guy, but let me add this caveat or question to this. There's so much conversation about Aaron Rodgers joining the New York Jets. What if Derek Carr joined the New York Jets? Is he enough to get them over the hump to let's just say an AFC championship game? We'll start there.
AFC championship is the expectation if Derek Carr goes there because they just need stability at quarterback. White was a quarterback that can go in there and throw for 300 plus yards and then the very next game throw for 178 yards and 2 picks and yada yada. I think Derek Carr can go in there and give you a flat 225, 250 a game. 1 to 2 touchdowns a game, maybe a turnover here and there, but stability is what they need. So I think that's good enough to get them to the AFC championship expectation and even, contending to win that division, even up there with Buffalo. Aaron Rodgers would make them Super Bowl expectations just because I think he would get even more out of those weapons that they already have. So there's that. Derek Carr, to me, a guy, but very, very good nonetheless.
Okay, this is a good one. I allude this guy to Texas of college football last year. They went up in the rankings for losing. Jalen Hurts. He lost the Super Bowl, but he balled his butt off. Is he the guy or just a guy?
If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said the guy very close to, or a guy. 2 weeks ago, I would have said a guy very close to being the guy just because I needed to see him go out there. He needed to have that moment. We was talking about that what's that moment, that defining career moment. We saw it in the Super Bowl. They didn't lose because of him. Now you could be nitpicky and say that fumble, that 7 points up there. Okay, that's fine, but that was just one of those things that, well, maybe we can use that. I don't know. To me, he is the guy. And for him to have 4 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, his very first Super Bowl appearance ever, and not look nervous. The offense, we've seen some starts to these Super Bowls over the last 4 or 5 years where teams just come out of the gate super slow and they can't get anything going. He came right out, no question marks. There was nothing about that shoulder. He just was on fire from the very beginning. I think he is the guy. Philly going to pay him, and they're going to have a great quarterback for the next 10-plus years.
I agree. I think Jalen Hurts is the guy. Almost done. This is the youngest guy on the list. Former Buckeye. Former Georgia Bulldog. One Justin Fields. The guy or the guy?
Once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog. Actually, they probably won't claim him if he's just he is a guy. Look, I want him to be the guy, and maybe this year if the Bears put weapons around him or whoever he's playing for this upcoming season, put weapons around him and he has that breakout year, then my opinion will change. But as of right now, Buckeye fans, we need to stop. There's not one thing about him that you can say he is the – look at all the guys that we've said are the guy. He has nothing in common with absolutely any of them other than a player comp being Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson is a former MVP, and all his team does is win when he's out on that field. Justin Fields has all the intangibles to be the guy at some point if his arm is as good as what we expect, like it was in college, and accuracy and all that. But he is just the guy with the ceiling that we hope he continues to climb up to reach. But he is a guy. He's not the guy.
I agree. If I would go lower than just a guy because he's so unproven and there's so much going on with the team that he currently plays for. Last one and the best one. Buckle up. Deshaun Watson.
He played like just a guy in those 6 games.
Yeah. I love this time of year because we get real honest Kenner. We don't have fan Kenner right now because season isn't going on. We get a real honest Kenner right now.
Just so for those watching on the YouTube feed and the Facebook feed, I got my new shirt today. My Valentine's Day present from the best wife in the entire world. Just want to throw that out there. That has nothing to do with this, but yeah, I'm still the same guy from the season. I just wanted to make that clear. Look, he played like just a guy the last 6 games of the season. However, you could say the Browns overpaid and did all this stuff. If the Bengals didn't have Joe Burrow, I'm not guaranteeing that they would have done exactly what the Browns did. But when teams know the only way to win in this league is to have an elite level quarterback, everything we watched from Deshaun back from when he was with the Texans, he was an elite level quarterback. He was a top 5 quarterback. If he played on a better team that last season he was in, he would have been in the MVP conversation. And actually was. If you go look at the MVP finalists that year, he was right up there with them. So he is the guy. He played like a guy the last 6 games, but he was brought over to be the guy. He's paid to be the guy, and he is expected to be the guy. He's a guy. He's the guy. But I understand why those out there have their doubts. But again, you're going to ignore the first how many years of his career and base it off of 6 games and the fact that he made some decisions that we don't like off the field. Y'all want to do that? That's totally fine. But he is the guy. He's the guy.
I'll piggyback on what you said because I do believe that he is the guy. He better be the guy for everything that they gave up for him. For everything that they gave up for him, he has to be the guy because if he's not only is the head coach probably going to get fired, so is the GM. So he better be the guy.
And there you go. That is the guy versus